What's good, everyone? My name's Sai. This is Ash. We're here with Against the Fence. We're going to be looking down the barrel of UFC 292 this weekend. We're going to give a full breakdown on the whole entire card. It's going to, well, the main card, that is. We have Aljamain Sterling defending his bantamweight belt against Sean O'Malley here at UFC 292. And this is going to be the third time, well, 3 times successfully he's been able to defend this belt since he won it off of Pedro. Which, of course, was the last adversary to go up against Sean O'Malley, which he won by a split decision, but rightfully screwing, of course, him a place now in what is going to be the showdown this weekend. So, look, it's high stakes. You know, we're eating in the shard tonight. This was happening. But first of all, how are you doing, Ash? And what's your take on this?
I'm actually doing fantastic, and I'm glad you've got it, the main event right, unlike me saying Sean O'Malley versus Sean O'Malley. But yeah,
I did consider doing that.
It was a bit of a beauty that came from me. But yeah, I'm excited for the main event. I'm interested to see how O'Malley is going to deal with the wrestling of Sterling. I don't want to give too much away because obviously we're going to break down the fight. But yeah, just interested to see how he defends, or if not, stuffs the takedowns of Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing, right? It's all going to be, everyone's looking at his takedown ability. Everyone's been saying backpack all week. Yes. And of course, then you got Sean O'Malley, who's got a pretty decent defense. And that jab is problematic too. And I think there's one common denominator when we look at this fight, though. And that one common denominator between these two is Pedro. And if you look at how they both fed up against him, you can probably learn quite a lot about each of these fighters and how it goes. But yeah, I mean, Sterling's just been coming levels, isn't he? He's a different beast as of late.
Yes.
This is pretty good. I think Sean O'Malley beats the first Sterling that we saw up against Pedro, but it could be difficult this time out. We'll get into that.
That's true.
First and foremost, we're going to be presented with the card. Let me see if I can get up here on the screen. Here it is.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go, Ash? Top down or bottom up? How do we doing it?
Ooh, do we go bottom up this time, or do we start with the usual main event then down? What do you want to do?
Let's go bottom up. I'm happy to do bottom up. We can land on the main event at the very end. What's the chat saying? Anyone there at the moment, or
no one's there at the moment?
Let yourselves
be known if you are there.
Yes, if you guys are here for the first time, this is the breakdown show from Against the Fence, where we don't tell you what to think, but we teach you how to think. We go through the card, breaking down each person's performance and the likelihood as to how they're going to be matching up in particular areas, from striking, grappling, cardio, all the important stuff you need to be considering when you're looking at the outcomes of these things.
Oy.
First fight up on the card. Here we go. We've got Marlon Vera versus Pedro Munhoz.
Now, what a fight to start as well.
This is good. This is good. So first of all, we have Marlon Vera with 20 wins, 8-1. And in the blue corner, we have Pedro Munhoz with 27-0 and 2 no contests. One of those no contests actually being against Sean O'Malley himself, who's going to be on the top of the card.
Very true.
Both of these guys have met with Sean O'Malley in the octagon. Now, neither of these guys have actually lost against Sean O'Malley in the octagon, which is also quite a funny thing to look at, you know. Obviously, Pedro Munhoz having no contest, and Marlon Vera getting a freak accident, you could call it, but, you know, effectively, Sean O'Malley broke his leg, his ankle, twisted his ankle in that one. So, look, it's quite an interesting narrative from the start to stop, and I think this can come full circle when we get to the main event and look at what's next for Sean O'Malley, whatever happens here, should he win, because Marlon Vera is banging on that door, and I know Sean O'Malley wants to get that fight back, doesn't he?
Yeah, interested. I'm very interested. Obviously, I know Marlon Vera has a great mindset. We've seen that, and just want to touch upon something that he said in Embedded series. I think it was yesterday, just saying, I'm coming for these souls. And obviously I believe him, but him saying, if I get a win against someone like Pedro Munhoz is there for the title. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, is everyone forgetting Corey Sandhagen's on like a win streak? Like, bearing in mind, Chito Vera's lost to Corey Sandhagen. Like, is everyone forgetting about Corey Sandhagen or something?
He has. I think people have, but you know what it is? People love a narrative. They love a story. I love a story. Yeah. And the story there's none stronger, well, few stronger than Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. And
that's the thing. If O'Malley does beat Sterling, then I think that story could potentially get that match up before we see O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen.
Oh, man, it gets exciting, doesn't it? It gets exciting. All right. So this particular fight, first one on the card, Marlon Vera versus Pedro Munhoz. Interesting one. You've got someone with a height advantage of only about 2 inches. I thought it was a bit more, to be honest. I always look at Pedro Munhoz and think him to be small. But Marlon Vera is only 5'8" himself. But he is going to have the significant reach advantage. You're talking here well over 5 inches on the blue corner of Pedro Munhoz. So I think for that reason, you're going to have Pedro Munhoz wanting to get on the inside. Either he's going to be well out there doing that lateral movement stuff he does against the cage, and then he's going to shoot right on in and try get inside and just make sure that Marlon Vera is not picking at him at will. With this fight, standing or grappling, who do you reckon is going to have the advantages and where?
Yes, it's a tough one for me because they're both known for good leg kicks. Maybe a little bit more Pedro Munhoz, but when I say that, I mean like Pedro Munhoz likes to go for low leg kicks, and obviously Marlon Vera is known for the head kick knockout of Dominic Cruz, and then the front kick knockout of Frankie Edgar.
It's got a wild variety of kicks, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he sort of mixes his kicks up a little bit, goes high, goes low, but then Pedro Munhoz is mainly calf kicking. So
yeah,
if we're gonna go on striking, I think Chito Vera takes it for me.
Yeah,
just because he's got a more diverse way of striking.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, on paper, you might see Pedro Munhoz landing per minute, but you're looking at the type of opponent, aren't you? And it's just going to be a tricky type of opponent, Marlon Vera. And look, I also think particularly... Well, here's an interesting thing as well I've realized. If you look at Pedro Munhoz, and I think it was... I can't remember when we picked this out, but it was a couple of fights ago. You do notice he only has ever lost to UFC legends. It's like he gets stage fright when he's in there, when he's against those guys. Yeah. So... I guess one of the things you got to look at, I mean, Marlon Vera's been around for a while, but no one's really going to class him to be a legend. So this fight's really going to tell us whether it's just a load of tosh or just superstition, or if it's a serious situation. So I don't know. It's certainly going to be quite interesting to see how it plays out. But I think for Marlon Vera, there's that stigma still lurking around Pedro and his opponents. If you're not a legend, then you don't get through him as of late anyway. Yeah,
that's very true. And also, neither guy has ever been KO'd, so that's an interesting one. They both can take a crack. We've seen that. But yeah, I'm very intrigued for this fight.
Here's one actually, and we'll get straight into the gauges. But looking at this fight, one thing I did also pick out on Marlon Vera's side is he pretty much mollywopped every one of Pedro's opponents, hasn't he?
Basically, yeah.
So everyone that Pedro has lost to, Marlon's beaten in the last 3 years, bar Jose Aldo, let's say, right? But he's
yes, that's very true. Yeah, because Dominic Cruz beat him, Frankie beat him, and obviously Chito Vera finished him.
But he did so impressively. So what does that mean for this fight? Does that kind of mean that Marlon's got Pedro's number, or is it the fact that Marlon isn't a veteran, he's not going to be able to get through the guy
it's very true.
He stops everyone else. But
this is the thing as well, because obviously Marlon Vera was on a win streak until he lost to Corey, and obviously he just didn't get going in that Corey fight, and obviously Corey was just too quick for him. And the difference in this fight, I think, is Pedro Munhoz isn't going to be in Marlon's face like Corey was. He's not going to be in and out like Corey was. So
that's good.
He's going to be kind of slow and patient like Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera is like a slow calculated killer. So I think it's going to play into Marlon Vera's hands, this fight, and I think it's going to fight at the pace that Marlon Vera wants to. And I don't know if Marlon Vera can finish him, because obviously Pedro has never been finished, but who knows? But I think it's a good fight for Marlon Vera.
No, that's decent, Ash. Thanks for that. That's a good break. That's a good point you mentioned. The tools that beat Marlon Vera, and of course does Pedro Munhoz possess them. So we're talking superstition here, looking at a lot of history stuff and what's historically happened. So someone's going to be breaking superstition tonight, but we'll see how that goes. Let's get those gauges up, and we can look straight into how this matches up here in the stats. So striking, I think Marlon Vera is going to be edging on that personally.
Yes,
largely because he's got the longer weapons, so he's going to be utilizing a little bit more. And grappling, I might go Pedro, mainly because he's got access to those hips, and he's going to want to be using that more in his fight. But what would you say?
Good point. That's a very good point, because neither guy really, obviously they've got takedowns in their locker. Do they use them often? Not really. I've seen them both use takedowns, but like you said, if anyone's going to go for the hips early, it could be Pedro. And I kind of agree. And I know he's got a nasty guillotine as well. So
yeah, I hear that. I hear that. So we'll give it to Pedro, the grappling.
Yeah.
And power. I don't know what it is. When I look at Pedro Munhoz, I do see kind of like a to ever so slightly .0 stroke Frankie Edgar. I'm not saying he's better than, but he's just slightly, just ever so slightly. But the height, some of the movements are similar as well. So I don't know. I look at Pedro Munhoz and I see Frankie Edgar in many ways.
What do you mean?
With Marlon Vera.
Well, if he looks like Frankie, we've got to give him everything then.
Blew all the way down. Yeah, but what I'm saying is with Marlon Vera, could he utilize that same kick as well in this fight and catch?
Mate, you could be spot on there. And it's one of them because he's kind of like the height of Frankie. And it's just one of them that you don't see it coming. It's just a flick down the middle. You don't see it. You think it's a tip kick and then bosh, it's in your face.
Yeah. Height-wise, he could potentially do that. So power, though, would you...
I'd still stick with Marlon Vera for power.
Marlon Vera and power, too. All right, speed. Who's going to be fast? Who's going to be fastest? They're both fast, though. That's the thing.
They both are, yeah.
Both rapid.
If anyone starts quicker, I think Pedro starts a little bit quicker than Vera because we all know Vera, like I said a second ago, he's sort of like Petty Yarn, likes to read his opponents before he sort of makes an attack, like we saw in the most perfect recent fight that you can use it for an example would be the Dominic Cruz fight. Like,
right.
Dominic Cruz was very fast in and out on Dominic Cruz, and he was very in and out against Cheeto.
Yeah,
and obviously Cheeto didn't really have an answer for it. Wasn't quick in himself, but once he found his timing, he caught him. But I think that if anyone's going to be quicker, it could be Pedro Munhoz in this. I think. Yeah,
I think you're right. But the disadvantage there is Pedro's got to cover a lot more distance to get in.
Yes.
And that's going to be opportunity for Vera to catch him, just like you said there with Dominic Cruz. And then cardio-wise, I'll probably go Pedro as well, cardio-wise.
I'll stick with Pedro Munhoz for cardio-wise as well,
Yeah, look at that. Well, that gives us the gauges then. And that's 3 for the blue corner, 2 for the red corner. However, when it comes to the night, would you be siding with him as well? I think where it's going to matter most...
we're going Vera.
I think so too. Where it matters the most, I think it's going to be in the striking and that reach, and the fact that Vera is going to be finding a target a lot more effectively than of course Pedro would. And although Pedro's going to be just as rapid, it could be a little bit faster. Look, Vera's fast too. I'll go with that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
All right, let's get on to the next fight on the card. Let's see what we've got coming up next.
It's crazy how when we break down these fights, the gauges side with one side, and then I think we both agree that even though they've got all the gauges on that side, we go for the other guy.
Yeah, I mean,
this is what I'm saying. It's a strange sport, isn't it?
You've also got to look at what matters most, right? So sometimes it's like 4 in the blue, 4 all the way up on the blue side, but that other guy in the red corner has got power and power alone. And it's like, do you know what? Power is going to be enough because this other guy, whilst he's fast, whilst he's got grappling, he's chinning, exactly. And then you kind of got to weigh up the power of that power, like the weight of that power.
That's it.
All right, so we're into the second fight on the card. Now, this one is a little bit of a, hey, what are you doing on here? Sort of situation, isn't it? So a lot of people were disappointed because Garbrandt did fall out from this card. He was supposed to be fighting in this slot, but instead we have Damon Blackshear versus Mario Bautista.
Yes, Bautista, beast.
Yeah. Now in the red corner, we've got Damon Blackshear. What's really impressive about this guy is he fought just last week, so in the last 7 days.
Even more impressive. He won it by twister submission as well.
Yeah. When the third people ever in UFC to do it. Insane.
Crazy.
So not many people have fought that quick turnaround within 7 days. I think the last time we saw someone with quick turnaround, it was Khamzat Chimaev, 10-day turnaround.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't see that often at all. So here we go. We've got 14-5-1 in the red corner with Damon Blackshear. And then you got Mario Bautista with 12-2-0 in the blue corner. Now, there's not going to be too much difference elsewise in terms of reach and height. These guys are going to be coming in fairly even. And on the ground and their abilities on the ground, I think that's where it's going to get most interesting because both these guys can handle it. Mario Bautista, for example, last 3 wins, first round submissions.
Yeah.
Now, although he's not predicated like a renowned submission artist. He's got crazy fast hands in the stand-up too. He's well-rounded in those ways. He's super rapid. But I think it could be a very good or a very competitive matchup for someone like Damon Blackshear, who likes to get people down. The majority of his fights is how he kind of does a lot of his work. So
yeah, you're right.
My question for you, Ash, and I'm going to go straight to the grappling tab here, is where does this fight take place? Because both can do both.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think just Bautista just likes he mixes it in so well, but then once he's down there on the mat, he knows he's stronger than his opponents and it just stays down there. And like you said, 3 submissions, you can't knock it. And then with Blackshear as well, when I was watching his fight in the prelims, like he's got good striking, but then he's just once he gets a hold of you and you're down on the mat, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, once you get hold of something, I think
it'll be a great fight.
Yeah, true. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, yeah.
it is Bautista. He's rapid, right on the ground. He's got those scrambles, and with Blackshear, when he grabs hold of something, he's not letting go of it. Like it's his. You might as well just cut it off and give it to him because he's walking home with it. So he's sort of that kind of type. And I believe with Blackshear as well, he's been like grappling since high school. So it's very much part of his background, part of it of where he's from. But look, both of these guys are great in the stand-up and the striking. I'm really excited just to really get into the gauges on this one because it's going to be quite a dicey split. I honestly couldn't tell where it's going to take place. I couldn't tell if it's going to be a stand-up war or if it's going to hit the ground. There'll be a lot of scrambles. But either way, it'll be interesting. I think Mario Bautista's advantages will come in the later rounds, however. And I think for Blackshear...
potentially, yes.
Yeah, it will be a bit more of a front-end fight for him in order to look his best at it.
Yeah, indeed.
Get those gauges up. Oh, so who would you give striking to if you had to?
This is the thing. Obviously, Blackshear is quite new to the UFC. I've not seen much of him. I've only managed to do a couple of little bit of tape during the week of him. But like you said, watching Bautista, just the way he's fast in and out, great striking.
Yeah.
He can do it all.
He really can.
Just because I've seen more of it. Again, if anyone's in the chat and disagrees with me, let me know. I'm going to go for Bautista for striking.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen more of it.
He's fast. He's rapid. Do you know what? I'm going to give him speed as well because...
Yeah, give him early doors.
Yeah, here we go. He can have speed and power. I would have to stick with Blackshear on that one.
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, because he's just rapid with the hands. You know, he likes to do a lot of his work in the pocket, touching you up. But I do think Bautista has nicer striking. It's crisper. So I could really go both ways as a striking. I like how he's got those uppercuts. He's got those looping shots. The thing about Bautista is I think both of these guys might be guilty of it as well. Being fairly successful in the stand-up striking and then shooting straight in for the takedown. And it's so frustrating because you want them to carry on doing what they're doing so well.
Yeah, exactly.
But they kind of crash into the hips as soon as they sort of light you up a little bit on the feet. So, but
yeah, like you said, what I will say is if anyone does go for a takedown, just make sure it's a clean, well-timed takedown and don't leave your neck exposed because either man will submit you if you leave that sort of little area of margins and they will snap on it.
Yeah, no, this is true. There's little room for error with these guys on the ground.
Exactly, yeah.
I think for Bautista, if he is on the mat, he's going to have to initiate those scrambles, be fast, and just not be still because it's just an opportunity for Blackshear to advance and look a little bit more dangerous. So he's just got to be a lot of movement, stay animated down there. Cardio, though.
Bautista all day.
Yeah, he's got good cardio. You're right. Whilst Blackshear's cardio is decent as well, he can comfortably survive 3 rounds. He's got great cardio, in my opinion. I just do think his hands are a little bit slower after he's fatigued a bit. And whilst he can still throw them with power and have output, his performance isn't as crisp as it was in round 1, which might be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then just it's grappling. Who do we give the grappling to?
This is the thing, because grappling could technically go either way. But again, if it's going to go based on what we've seen more of, and I've actually seen more of Bautista's finishes, obviously, in Blackshear.
We might have to resort to the paper on this one. So if we look at what it says on Wikipedia, I believe it's 9 submissions, 6 submissions for Bautista. And then it's 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
For Blackshear. Now, you're looking at different times of the career as well. I think Blackshear's got quite a few of his submissions quite early on. And Bautista, more towards the latter. I mean, in his last 3, Bautista's done half of his submission record in his last 3 fights, So
yeah, that's true. But yeah, if you're going to go on paper, then you could go Blackshear. And I was just about to mention, it all depends who you're against as well. And obviously, Bautista's been fighting some top caliber of fighters in the UFC. So yeah, it could all depend on obviously who the opponents are. I was going to go Bautista just purely because I've seen more of it and he likes to go for the takedown as well. I know we're saying grappling, but then is anyone going to do it more? If I've seen more of it from Bautista.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to side with the old paper, then I'll get the scissors out because scissors beats paper.
Love that. I think I might have to leave it like that. It looks like that, really. It's grappling's going to go both sides. It could even do the same as well with striking. But with a fight like this, it might just come down to cardio. I think that's the kind of thing that could undo Blackshear. His cardio could be his kryptonite in this one. Not obviously, but that's where the margin is going to be if there's going to be room for margin at all. And that could be everything. But yeah, that's my breakdown on that. I will be going Bautista on the night, I believe, myself, blue corner.
I will be, yeah. Oh,
so we're going
Breezy's in the house. Welcome in,
What's up, Breezy? How you doing, man?
He says, all right,
welcome
guys,
to where it's at.
Calm down now. No need to panic. The sexiest guy in the community is here. Morning.
Yes. Right, now where's my lamp gone? I can ask my genie for that second wish. Because that's my first one done. Okay, great. Thanks, man. It's good to see you. Good to see you, Breezy. How are you, though, man? Are you well? How's the missus? Keeping her sweet? Happy wife, happy life, and all that?
Yeah, that's it. Make sure you stick to that one, mate.
Yeah. Ash knows. All right. Okay, so next fight up on the card, we have Neil Magny versus the Ian Machado Garry. Now,
great fight.
Record on this one, you have 28-11-0 for the stubborn Neil Magny, and then you have the 12-0-0 for the undefeated Ian Garry. Quite an exciting one. Certainly quite exciting. Height-wise, not a big difference, but as always, Neil Magny has a freakishly long reach, and it's going to be freakishly so in this fight as well. So whilst they're going to be coming at the same height, he's going to have that freakishly long reach by about 5.5 inches in this one too. So yeah, it's no small feat. Not at all, or hand, shall I say. And then you got, if we go straight to the striking, because I think in this particular matchup, it's going to be two areas. It's going to be in the clinch or it's going to be in the striking. And
1,000%.
Yeah? Go on, Ash. What you got for this one?
Yeah, and this is the thing. I can't wait to break this one down because it's such an interesting fight because it was meant to be Jeff Neal versus Ian Garry, wasn't it?
Jeff Neal, Ian Garry.
It was meant to be Jeff Neal.
Oh, and it changed. Right. Yeah.
So, and this is the thing. I think it wouldn't have been an easier opponent. Stylistically, it would have been a better matchup for Ian Garry because Ian Garry likes to stand and strike and utilize his range, utilize his jab. And obviously, we all know Jeff Neal likes to stand and crack as well.
Yeah.
Now he's fighting an awkward guy in Neil Magny. And we've watched Magny for many of years now and how awkward he is and sometimes frustrating. But for me, you've said it there in the grappling and up against in the clinch, up against the cage. Neil Magny's crafty, and if he gets Ian Garry in them scenarios, Ian Garry could be in for a long night. Let's be honest. There's been plenty of fighters I've counted out against someone like Neil Magny, and it is prevailed. So could it be prevailed in this one by just utilizing the grappling, like we were just saying in the last fight? You may need one thing, and that could be just Neil Magny's grappling.
Look, you're right. It could be exactly down to that. That's all it could be down to. But you're right. And also Jeff Neal was in the previous fight, and now it is Neil Magny. But I do wonder when that happened because I was looking at Ian Garry's on Embedded, but also checked out some of his Instagram stuff, and he's been training with Phil Rowe. And Phil Rowe obviously fought Neil Magny in his last time out. And they came close. Phil Rowe was surprisingly competitive in that fight. I thought it would be Neil Magny all day, but he's just as tall. Phil Rowe's just as awkward. He's the closest fighter you can find in the UFC today with a very similar body type as Neil Magny. And as a person kind of stone you want to be training up against, opponent you want to be training up, sparring partner you want to train up against for an opponent like Neil Magny. So I do feel like, I think it was like 5 days ago I could see this. I'm not sure when he brought Phil Rowe in, whether it was while he was looking at Jeff Neal or all the while or only recently. But fundamentally, I think this guy might be ready he might have Neil's number and just being ready for, he's been in the octagon a number of times against such a very similar adversary and a worthy adversary as well, because that fight was close. Split decision win.
Yeah, crazy.
Man, yeah. I Phil Rowe really surprised me and impressed me in that fight. When it came down to matter most, I think it did lead on the cardio. Externally, these guys, he was very competitive in the striking, competitive in the clinch exchanges as well. It was just the cardio where Neil Magny had that advantage and it kind of wore it out of Phil. So yeah, look, in in this fight, I'm not really going to touch much on the grappling. I feel like, that does lead more in Neil Magny's favor.
Yeah.
Certainly so. It's going to be a stand-up striking affair. If anything, it will be clinching against the cage, initiated from Neil Magny's part. But, why wouldn't you? When you got dangerous weapons like Garry, you do not want to be letting them things running free in there. Tie him up, mitigate the risk of you getting hit by him. Would be wise 100%. from Magny's side. Shall we check what the gauges have to say about this one?
Yeah, just quickly get the comment from Breezy. Breezy says he's been flat out over here. Not much time for much else. Too tired on the weekend and evenings. Need to book some time off.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, book some time off, mate, and then
Come
enjoy
see
the
us.
ATF weekender.
Book some time off. Come see us. We'll have you on the couch here, and you can just be like, have a holiday around ours.
I mean, book in at the ATF hotel.
Yeah.
JK and so will look after you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Plonk you down here on the sofa. We do the watch logs at night. It'll be class. We have a great time. Yeah. You have dinner out on the balcony as well.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Of that.
That's chucked in there.
Yeah, throw it in there for free. Go on, you can have that for free. Oh, as well. But so we've got the gauges up here, right? I might go from bottom to up because striking, or shall we go striking? Let's go top down then. Striking.
I'll go Garry in that one.
I think you do, don't you? I think you really do. It's not to say that Neil Magny doesn't have it. He does.
No, exactly. And
he's awkward with it, which is good.
This is what I was going to say. He's a very awkward sort of style of striker, and sometimes he can be very good. Like in was it the Michael Chiesa fight where he was literally doing so well on the feet, and then at times he was going for the takedown instead of keeping it standing.
Yeah,
and he can be because he's got range as well, and he does when he strikes, he can strike very well.
Yeah,
but he just has that tendency of mixing in the takedown at the wrong times. So But if we're going to be talking about dangerous, who's going to be more dangerous? He
surprised me against Jeff Neal.
Yeah, exactly, as well, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And then we got to the grappling. I think on this one,
Neil Magny, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go Magny on the grappling. Where's my grappling button? Yeah, I pressed that one. Strange. So grappling for Magny, and then power. I will probably go
Garry, yeah.
Garry, really. Well. But let's have a look at the wins by knockout. Yeah, 58% of his wins come by knockout. That's Garry. Lethal hands. That's been said, and that is done. Speed. I'll go Garry again.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Cardio.
I'm gonna go Magny.
Yeah, I'll toss it to Magny. I think so too. I mean, he's just a unrelenting force as it.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like I was saying earlier, like if Neil Magny can make this fight awkward, make it ugly, and sort of just wear on Garry, even if it's up against the cage, wearing on him, a couple of knees, soften him up, make Garry work, defend. You could go 3 rounds and Neil Magny could win a decision. I can see it.
This is it. It's very possible. It's very possible. I think for this fight, I will side with the gauges on this one. I think the things that are in blue or are ticked for the fighter are important and are ways, of course, of beating his opponent. So speed, power, and striking, that can get a job done against someone like Neil Magny. I think we've seen him lose in the past to likes of Gilbert Burns, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Joaquim Silva as well. And look, in a lot of these bouts, it wasn't just on striking; it was just the ability to mix it up. I don't think that's another point actually as well. I don't think Neil Magny has lost to a striker as of late. Shavkat Rakhmonov is a decent striker, but it was in the guillotine choke where it went wrong. So it's with the grappling credentials is what kind of where his grip night lies. So this is going to be an interesting one for Garry because historically,
this is a very interesting fight. Yeah.
There's some argument there for Neil Magny if you wanted to go that way. But yeah, for me, Garry, I think he's going to stay undefeated after this one. And he's just going to be wise enough to stay out of the dangers of Magny's pressure. Okay.
Right, indeed. Quick comments while you get them up. Get the next one up. Breezy says, well, that scary thing is you're not the first person to say that recently. Looking forward to it. I hope to get for this, but if I'll see if I can get past a groggy stage after my alarm. And that was just because Jordan mentioned about the card at the weekend. See if he'd join for it.
Oh, really? Oh, he's offered up. He's offered up for the card already.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Okay, sweet. Now, Zhang, Weili, Amanda Lemos. This is
another great fight.
The co-main. Indeed it is. Now, 23-3-0 in the red corner for Zhang Weili, and then you got 13-2-1 for Amanda Lemos in the blue corner. Now, this is China versus Brazil, and they're pretty much evenly matched in terms of body types. Highs is pretty even, but you're looking at a 2-inch advantage, only ever so slightly in the reach for someone like Lemos. And that might matter because someone like Lemos is predominantly going to be using her hands to get something like this one done. If we go straight over to how this fight matches up in the grappling and significant strikes, we can probably draw up a narrative here, couldn't we? We can look at the striking and we can say, or even like the wins by, and we can say that, yeah, Lemos is the knockout striker, the knockout artist. No, she's knocked out over 62% of her recent wins. And Weili Zhang's got less than 50% of her wins by via knockout. Now, here's the thing. We saw Weili Zhang come out against JJ, and JJ's a brilliant striker. Weili Zhang beat her on the striking.
Yeah.
We saw her come out against Carla Esparza, and Carla Esparza is a brilliant submission artist, and she's a great wrestler. We saw Weili Zhang out-wrestle Carla Esparza.
Yeah.
So now we've got Amanda Lemos, who's a great knockout artist. What is Weili Zhang going to do to her? I wonder.
You're spot on with that. You broke that down perfectly. And yeah, this one's a tough one for me because Lemos is big, very, very big for the division. And I'm not saying Weili Zhang isn't, but just when you see Lemos when she's up against her opponents, it's like whoa. And even when she was against Entourage, and Entourage managed to get the submission on her. But yeah, it's the leg kicks of Lemos that could pay dividends in this fight, and could path a way through to maybe getting a finish. But like you said, Weili Zhang has. She's improved so much on every area and every aspect of her game, and like you said perfectly there, she's beating the strikers at her own game, and then she's beating the grapplers and the wrestlers at their own game. Like you said, how is she going to come out in this one? Is she going to really stand and sort of outstrike Lemos?
Wait, wow. Look, anything can happen, right? And in terms of the striking abilities here, or like the dangers here for Weili Zhang, where is she going to find it against someone like Lemos? Where is she going to see? Where's Lemos going to be most dangerous in this fight? Because I think a lot of people will be going Weili Zhang based on.
Yeah, a lot of people will, and like I said, I think the advantages that Lemos will have will be in a stand up, like we were just saying, and I think the leg kicks will pay dividends, and they could set up multiple different attacks or even different looks that she could impose.
Yeah.
And maybe throw Weili off balance, and then she could potentially go for the grappling.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I think Lemos needs to. I think she could just have surprising power. Like if she's smart enough, she probably won't.
Got power in the locker. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think she should come out exhibiting all that she can do. I think she needs to come out quite light, not too tough, and then when Weili Zhang least expects it, that's when the power comes in, and halfway through that first round, just whip something nasty on her entry. I think catching Zhang by surprise might be one of the only ways to do it. And you do tend to find that. You tend to find these fights, which you would think, okay, Zhang's got this in every area. How do you beat a person like that? Well, then it's the art of war. When you're weakest, you got to seem strongest. When you're the strongest, you got to seem weakest. So I think she needs to play, not expose her power until she's really going to sit down in it and surprise Zhang on something nasty. But let's have a look at those gauges and see what this co-main looks like, striking wise.
These Canadian bakers in the house. Welcome
yes, what's up, T? How are we? You good?
You're doing well, sir.
Yes.
Breezy says, I haven't been recently, I'd admit, but I want to get back onto it. Is that joining the watch longs? Is that what you mean?
Hey. Guess what then? 3 a.m. though, yes. It's an early one.
And obviously Canadian Bacon was just touching upon, he's going for the Irishman, obviously in Garry in the last one we just broke down.
Yeah,
Right.
Why wouldn't you?
Sorry, now we go.
Why wouldn't you? He's got that star power, isn't he? He's the next Conor McGregor coming through. Well, if not Paddy, then no Garry.
That's true.
So, striking. I think this is tough. It's tough. I'm going to put the power on Lemos nice and early. I feel that Lemos going to have the power advantage. Saying that, watch Weili Zhang come and knock her out. Do you know?
They've both got power as well, yeah.
They do. But I guess when you look at how the fights are done, it is Lemos who relies on that more so than someone like Weili Zhang.
She can crack, yeah.
Then we look at the grappling. I would have to side with Weili Zhang on that one, the grappling one.
Yes, I agree. Yep.
I think that's going to be fully in her area.
Me, I'm going to have to go for Weili as well.
You would? Yeah, I could go.
But then again,
yeah.
I just think she's quicker in all areas, if you get what I mean. Lemos, her leg kicks are quick, but I just think Weili's more athletic.
True. Cardio now. I'll have to go Weili again.
Yeah, go Weili because
we're
going to go 5,
yeah. But then that leaves striking still up and out there. Who gets, I feel like when it comes to the striking, that's where Amanda's going to have her biggest advantage.
Yeah,
I mean, not saying it's going to be a huge advantage, but that's really where she's going to want to keep it. Grappling, she doesn't want that. And I think because of that, in this matchup, Weili Zhang might not stand and strike too much. Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say. So would you go Lemos or would you go?
Yeah,
Zhang?
we'll stick it with Lemos for now because, like you said, she's got a higher finish rate, right?
Yeah, she does. I mean, that's where the power comes in. If I look at significant strikes landed, Weili Zhang's got 5.79.
Where Weili utilizes her leg kicks. Because obviously we all know that Lemos has great striking with her hands, but then she has great kicks.
Yeah.
And if you're going to determine what's going to be more effective, like a powerful leg kick or a tippy-tappy leg kick from Weili, you're going to go for Lemos, aren't you, with the powerful and more sort of deadlier strikes?
I think you pretty much put these numbers into words very well there because you got landed per minute. It's slightly more for Weili Zhang. She does edge the advantage in terms of output, but in terms of significant strikes, that's Amanda Lemos who does edge that as well. She's got 10% on top of Weili Zhang's 47%. So look, you put it pretty well. I can side with that. I can get on board with that. I do think, again, agreeing with the gauges, it's the red corner who takes the win on this one. I think it will be Weili Zhang. I think where it matters, I think the things she does have there on the gauges is where it matters most in this fight.
Yeah, I think if she can come out and grapple with Lemos when she needs to and time an entry, I think she can keep Lemos down and potentially get a submission.
Yeah. That's it. Well, that's not how the story goes, though, right? She outstrikes the striker. She submits the submission artist, and she knocks out the knockout artist. I mean, that's how she completes a little triple whammy. Surely,
imagine.
Yeah, look, she's great. Nonetheless, she really is. Let's get back into the next fight on the card, and this one is the main event of the evening.
O'Malley versus O'Malley.
O'Malley versus O'Malley. Do you want to break this one down on your own, Ash? So this is Ash and Ash breaking down O'Malley versus O'Malley. Completely one-sided. Okay. Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. Now, this is 23-3-0 for Aljamain Sterling in the red corner. And you got 16-1-0 and 1 no contest for Sean O'Malley. If you remember, rewind it. The very front end of this card, we said that no contest was against Pedro Munhoz, who's got an eye poke, and that was completely vetoed. So, decent fight for the length of it. However, did not come to any clean conclusion. Now, where's the advantages here? You've got the height of Sean O'Malley. He's going to be the taller fighter, and he's going to have the reach advantage, only by an inch, though, not by much. So in physical body types, there's not going to be a huge thing in it there. But we do know fighting stylistically that it is Sean O'Malley who's going to be popping out that jab and keeping Aljamain Sterling on the end of it throughout. Then you got Aljamain Sterling who's going to be wanting to pass through get into the pocket and take down Sean O'Malley. Backpacking is the one thing he's been talking about the whole entire time. But look, he might be able to be quite wild in that striking to be successful there as well. Who knows?
Yeah, you're very right. Just you basically got striker versus grappler, and it's the classic matchup, isn't it? So
it's a story as old as time itself.
Can the grappler get in close to the rangy striker of O'Malley, and can O'Malley stop the takedown? And this is the thing. Obviously, all the fights start standing. Can O'Malley crack him before he gets close, or hurt him so that Sterling has no choice but to stand with O'Malley?
Yeah. I think that's the big question, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That is the big question. I think also with this particular fight, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, that common denominator, right? That thing you got to look at between the two of these guys, what brings these two together, it is Petr Yan. Petr Yan's ability to cause problems for both of these guys in the ring, for Aljamain Sterling at first. But really, you got to look at Aljamain Sterling as of late, because that's who he is now. That's who he's evolved to be. And he really put a lot of people in their place the way that he dealt with Petr Yan the second time around. You got to look at the fact that Sean O'Malley went to a split decision with him.
Mhm.
And you also got to look at the fact that Aljamain Sterling did a dominant performance of defeating him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it kind of tells you the levels at which these guys are at. I know the styles are slightly different, but I was just really impressed at that new Aljamain Sterling we saw.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
you got to give props to him. Like you said, a lot of he did get a lot of stick for obviously his performance against the first time he fought Peter Yan. Obviously, when it was the accidental illegal knee to the head, and he got a lot of stick for that. But then he come out second time round and dominated Peter Yan.
yeah,
So you got hats off to him. And I think if he does beat O'Malley, I think you've arguably got to put him in that category of the best bantamweight we've had. Obviously, he beat like everyone's arguably the best bantamweight in TJ Dillashaw, and then he just beat Triple C. So his like the level of caliber of the fighters that he's beat and his resume speaks for itself. So
it's true. It is true. Um, well,